common big complaint for Endfield is that the combat is boring or has no depth. And I think that's true, especially if you play the game like as if you're coming from a different gacha game, Genshin Impact or Wuthering Waves. If you play Enfield's combat like those games, you're gonna think it's just a copy and there is nothing much to it. But people don't realize that Endfield has so many more things for you to be learning, and only if you finally understand the combat will you finally see that the combat can look amazing and also fun to play. This video will teach you everything you need to know about combat. So, a very common first thing that people would do is to create a 6-star team. Just like the other games, you would imagine that the highest rarities are the strongest characters. So like that, these are all the 6 stars that I've gotten in my account. Let's take them for a spin, right? Let's say there's this big enemy over here, and just like how you would play the other games, you'll just hold the mouse button, do some normal attacks. If you see E, you'll press E, right? Because that's what this game does. And then afterwards, when you see that, then you start doing it. Whatever skills that you want to click, you know, just go ahead. Press skills. And then once I run out of skill points, I'll just wait, dodge when I want to, that kind of thing. Well, the great thing is that you don't have to switch characters, right? You can do so in this game, but why would you? You're just controlling a singular unit, and again, just take some hits. If I don't seem like I'll die, and I'll just use skills whenever I see it. And yeah, that's just how the entire fight goes for many people. Well, perhaps you've seen some guide videos or tier lists that tells you what teams to build. Like for instance, this is a mono electric team, and then they tell you to just run this, and you play exactly like how I did it in the previous one, where again, whenever you see an E, you just click, right? And once you see whatever skills that's available, whatever outs, you just go ahead and use it. Well, not all Genshin and Wuthering players just play like this spam style and just click whensoever. Some of you understand that rotations exist. So perhaps you understand that, if you see the lands, then I can use a Arena skill. Okay, cool. Then if I use this, then I'll get certain combos. And you start memorizing that sequence like as if that's the thing that you only need to do. And repeating it several times after, you start to think, that's not very impressive, you know, I'm just memorizing steps to heal something, and I guess there's nothing much more to it. So now that I showed you how a lot of people might be approaching the game, let's finally teach you how the combat works. Let's cover the basics of the game. Most of you would already know that your skill points are in the bottom middle of the screen, whereas your ultimate energy and when it comes back up, you can see on the bottom right. If you were to cast a reaction or a status, you can see in the bottom of their HP bar. And if you cast an infliction or a vulnerable, you can see on the right of their HP bar. Now, a lot of people might not realize that you can see when your combo skill is back up. Look at the bottom left of your screen, you can see it from the white bar. So once the white bar is fully charged, then you know that their combo is back online, and you can use it once again. Now let's show you more with a fuller team of 4. So as you saw from the previous combat, I can do a final strike which will give me Perlika's combo into Endmin's combo as well. And when Endmin's combo is up, I can basically cast a skill which will do a big damage, and that will also give me Alash's combo. So that is a sequence that happens within this team. However, there's also another one. I can do Estella's skill, and then when I do Alash's skill, this will cause Estella's combo along with Alash's combo again. Pretty neat sequence. So what I can just do is repeat this, right? Perlika's skill, Endmin's combo, and then afterwards I can also use Endmin's skill again, do big damage, I get Alash's combo, rinse and repeat. So the only thing that I kind of have to take note is that whensoever Alash's combo is ready, and then I can do it and keep repeating this over and over again. We'll come back to the repetitive part later on, but another common thing that people would do is to spam their outs, right? Whatever outs that you see that is available, you go ahead, turn on everybody, thinking that it's huge damage, expecting that all the enemies will die in one go just by using them, and then you look at the map and you realize, wait, they're all still right there. Why are they not dead? A lot of players don't realize that outs also have their own sequence. Like for instance, so let's just get the final strike coming in, I got the combo. This is the best time for you to use Endmin's out because it will do the biggest amount of damage. Then, I could also consider using Alash's out. It doesn't cast any SP, and instead, it gives you the cryo infliction, so I can basically skip a step in order to get the combo skills of everybody, as you see over here. Estella's out is best used with its physical susceptibility, which is the first icon that you see, and is given by a combo skill. So if you were to use it, it will cause a lift on the enemy, and it will also give a vulnerable stack, which makes it the perfect time for you to use Endmin's first skill, because Endmin's first skill does a big amount of damage depending on the amount of vulnerable. Whereas when it comes to Pelika's ult, it kinda doesn't matter, but if you happen to have her with talent, then what will happen is that if an enemy has vulnerable, then she's able to do more damage. And also, if you have electrification, they will take more arts damage. So perhaps this is the best time for you to use her ult. And just like that, that's how you can kill the enemy. Are you still following? So skills have their own sequences and ults also have a sequence. It seems like a lot more memorizing and I guess button mashing, right? Every time you see the combo, you hurry to press on it. But if you rush to do all the sequence in one go, you don't appreciate certain things that happen with your kit. So as mentioned just now, you understood that Pelika's combo goes into Endmin's combo and then you should use Endmin's skill to do a big damage. But what if you just slow it down a little? Like for instance over here, right? Let's do a final strike onto the familiar worm. Yes? So I use Endmin's skill and don't use the skill yet. Only at the last moment you do it to do a big damage. Then I can use Estella's skill and Alesha's skill. Now don't press on the combo yet. Notice the solidification time is quite long. Only towards the end of it. Then you do this, and then notice that I just caused a seal. So I can just use Endmin's skill, it is a huge damage. Right? Now if this guy were to pop back up and he's gonna damage me, what I can then just do is I freeze him again so that he doesn't get to attack me. Basically, just by slowing it down, I've just perma-stunned the enemy.
Got a little intense.
If you choose to only abide by certain specific rotations, you can feel that it's very rigid. But in truth, you don't have to hardcore memorize and instead get familiar with the skills, combos, and outs of your own unit. That way, you can become more creative with what you want to choose to sequence. Like for instance, I'm going to start off this fight straight away just by using Endmin's skill, which causes a vulnerable stack. Then there is a final strike by Pelika, which increases the amount of arts damage that's dealt. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to use Estella's skill, and then when I have Alesha's skill ready, then I can basically do it just like that. So there's now 2 stacks of vulnerable. I'm going to use Estella's ult to help me cast the 3rd stack, and there's still physical susceptibility in play, but we're just going to wait for a little while. So I am going to use Endmin's ult to cast a big amount of damage. And you can still see I still have 3 vulnerable stacks. Then, I'm going to use this to get Estella's combo. And notice now that I have 4 stacks. With 4 stacks, if I use his skill, then it's going to be a bigger amount of physical damage that's being dealt. Once again, I can try to be a little bit creative here. I'll keep him still, just like that. I'm going to use Pelika's skill along with Alesha's ult. This way I freeze him. Let him just stay there, chill for all he wants, and finish off the kill. Just like that. And then we can deal with the rest of them, right? I can just make Pelika's skill pop so that the enemy at the back over here can take more arts damage. And that way, if whatever skills that I use is gonna hurt quite a bit more. Just like that. So you don't have to be so particular about always following the same route, depending on the enemy's weaknesses as well. Because the game doesn't have that much interesting enemies, at least in the front of Valley 4, you might not feel that it's very necessary. But in the future, when enemies show that they are more susceptible to physical damage or arts damage, trying to sequence it like this will help you a lot more. Oh yes, and just about right now, I have to tell you guys that I've been using this level 40 team against level 50 enemies. And some of you will be wondering, why in the world would you do that? You can speed build your units, right? Just to show it to you guys, I'm still using a level 20 weapon on Alesh, and I have no skills even level up, not even the talents that are combat related. And the reason is just that you don't have to upgrade your units. In fact, this will allow you to experience more as to how your team works and also understand the enemy mechanics better. When you rush to build everybody all up, you will find that the combat might be quite boring, right? You can just auto-attack everything and things just die. You don't learn much about your team, you don't learn much about how the enemies actually work, and as a result, you kind of think that there's nothing going on. But if you play in this state, where you always try to either match the level of the enemy or be under them, then you start to realize that, wait, there's a lot more going on. Later on in the game, where the enemies start to be higher level than what your units even can be, that is probably when players who speed build are going to get challenged and realize they don't really understand how their team works. So as a result, they will become forced to learn, or otherwise they will just struggle with whatever in-game mechanics that will appear later on. If you're not impressed by level 40 against level 50, I would also like to show you that when it comes to the dungeons that you're farming, and sometimes the recommended operator can be high, right? Like level 80. I'm also using that same level 40 team into these sort of dungeons. And it's not just a singular team as well. I'm actually using multiple teams, which I'll show you guys later on. But I've actually cleared off all of the level 80s, showing to you guys that even if you don't rush the build, you can do all of these difficult stuff. It will require you to understand how your teams work, and it won't be easy, but you will be very satisfied if you can do so because it gives you more resources. Also, I have a video soon to be uploaded where I did a level 40 team against level 80 Roden, the boss. Thank goodness we're not in some Spiral Abyss territory of a gacha game and there is no time limit. I can spend as long as I could. It was pretty hellish to ensure that I stay alive, but I had a lot of fun doing it and I'm so glad that this game allows for that. Some of you could also be thinking, with a low-level team, what are some ways or tricks that I also managed to defeat stages? And it isn't all about just learning your teams. There are towers in this game, as you see from advertisements and whatnot, and you can use them very easily, not by connecting power lines, but instead by using your batteries. So for instance over here, I can just maybe want to clear this dungeon, right? Maybe I'm struggling for some reason. I'm just going to place my beam towers in, and then I'm going to place sentry towers around. So I've got 4 towers facing down into the middle that can provide supportive power. And you might be thinking, where am I getting the electricity? Well, just tap on it. If you carry a battery, you don't have to place them all. Actually, you just need to place one in, and that will be sufficient power for you to actually load up into the battlefield. So I'm just going to do it for every single one of them. And finally, last one as well. There you go. Alright, they are ready. Let's give it a go. This is a different team that I'm playing with as well. So I'm just going to start by having Prolica. That will create Arknights combo. Then I have Avina's combo, right? I'm just going to place Avina's out in. Let's cause an electrification onto everyone. Into combustion, meaning that they'll burn a lot better. There you go. I can also switch my teammates, as you see. If you feel that you want to switch from melee to range, you can do so. Alright, I'm looking for Avina's combo again. And now with 7 lances on the battlefield, this is the perfect time for me to use Avina's skill to do a giant zap onto everyone. Amazing! And then we keep it going. And there you go. Finish with the help of your own team and also the towers on the sideline. So use the towers to your advantage, and once you're done, you can just back it up. And then you can bring them with you onto your next battlefield. Here's another tip for you. Some of you might be thinking, how did I use these low-level teams to defeat the higher-level dungeons? Well, you don't have to cave into speed building your units by their levels, the weapon level, or their skills. Those are limited resources that you're working so hard to gather, and they take sanity to get as well. Instead, however, you can use something that is a more unlimited resource, which is your overworld materials. So if you go into your menu and you see crafting, go to find F&M, and you can see that there's a lot of food recipes you collected. These are always available for you, so you can simply use them in battle as well. So let's say, for example, Kunstveil. It grants damage dealt up by almost 20% and it lasts for 300 seconds, which is enough for you to do 2 dungeon attempts. So we're going to use this within one of the stages over here. We're going to go with the first one that gives EXP. It's a pretty precious resource after all. So prior to the battle, you can still assess your inventory, and beforehand, I would just make them all have the Kunstveil, like that. And they're all going to deal more damage, and let's take a step in. So this way, I won't struggle as badly. Alright, let's send it in. We start with certain outs. I'm gonna cause electrification. I can do the spear. There you go. I'm just gonna use Arknight's skill. Alright, unfortunately the enemy died. Thank you, Arknight. There you go. Afwina again. Let's send in the Lancers to do a huge amount of damage. Let's throw another out. Here you go. This guy is down. Gonna use Wolfguard to get his combo. Send it in again. Get that out. Use Arknight's skill to get her combo again. And I'm just gonna do a final strike in order to get Afwina's combo in. And just like that, let's send the Lancers. Beautiful. Let's stagger this guy. He's down.
None shall live.
From the storms, it came.
Little bit of a finish. Right, Arknight, get your skill in. Thanks, Arknight. How about you do it again, Arknight? Awesome. Okay. Just gonna do a final strike here. Alright, we're gonna one-shot this guy with Afwina's skill. And just the final dude. Anzu! Use items in battle. You will like it. So here's a final tip when it comes to understanding the combat better. If you happen to have buffs or debuffs on your teammate, look on the bottom left of your screen. You can actually see it being indicated. If you gain buffs from weapons or gear, the game will actually tell you that you are gaining the stacks. If it actually applies only to the controlled unit, like for instance if I were to use Last Right's skill, you only see the buff supposedly being done to the middle control operator. So if I were to change who I'm using, Last Right's skill can actually still procure. Just like that. And you can then play out the battle. And this video wraps up how you can understand the combat better. Your teams are not rigid at all, the rotations aren't just one or two things for you to repeat all the time. Learn all of their skills and you'll realize that there are tens of different directions that you can take your team. Some teams are definitely easier, looking at the Leviathan team, but then for a lot of other teams, especially when you mix it all up, it can be very fun for you to see how this person helps that person and so on and so forth. Now when it comes to building your team, just a bit of a final tip, I will try to make a video for this, but because you lasted this long in the video, I do also want to mention that I'm building my team at the moment horizontally, meaning this isn't like how you play maybe HSR, Genshin, WoWA, that kind of thing, where you see a lot of people speed build their units all the way to max level. This is more like Arknights, which I understand some of you don't play Arknights, where you want to try to build as many units as possible because the resources that you take to level them from 70 to 80 or even 80 to 90, it's going to be very expensive and the amount of stats gain that you get isn't very high, very much like what happens in Arknights. Instead, that amount of resources that you're taking from 70 to 90 could be you doing a level 1 to 70 for another character, letting you experience more people within the game. And having more people in your pool is also going to be great because enemies do have different weaknesses. You will realize that certain teams are more boss killer oriented, certain teams are better at mob clearing, and certain teams are just really fast at eliminating a singular enemy when you're in the overworld. Once you start to realize the strengths and weaknesses of all the different teams, you're just going to enjoy the fact that you have a bigger roster rather than playing the same boring 4 people all throughout. You can definitely play that way if that's how you want to do it, but I do believe more of you will discover fun if you experience every single unit and realize how everybody can work together. Alright, and now you're much better at understanding the combat of the game. Go and explore all the many different variations of teams. You don't have to just use a video to tell you what team that is. Trust me, mix and matching and really understanding how they work is going to make you discover so many more things. Anyways, I will be making more guides. What specific guides? You'll have to find out just by subscribing to the channel. So I will see you guys in another one. Bye bye.